We suffered a heavy bombardment that lasted 9 hours. At times I thought I'd seen my final hour. A third of our company is already missing. These were the words of a soldier struggling to hold on during his first tour at Verdun. However, like many, he had to go back again, which led many soldiers to pose the question, would they survive again at Verdun? This is the soldier that did 2 tours at Verdun. His name, Sergent Jules Destrigneville. He served with the 315 Regiment, or the 315e Régiment d'Infanterie. His first tour was eye-opening in many ways. A terrible bombardment that lasted 9 hours. I thought I'd seen my final hour. Our hair will soon turn white. Though food has come, we live on little. What we are going through here is unimaginable. Days and nights in the rain, without food. Despite these horrendous conditions, he still had the time to save a man's life. After the horrors of the first tour, the regiment was sent for rest. And ultimately, the regiment didn't believe they'd be going back and seeing the horrors of Verdun again. However, they were wrong. Soldiers and officers alike were unsettled by the news of going back to Verdun. By this time, they all knew the horrors that awaited them there. Jules himself decided he would announce on the 22nd of October, I've survived Verdun once, and I will survive it again. In this letter, he also saw the need to put in a pressed flower, which is still there to this day. But this tour would be different, battling the elements, but also the psychological side of warfare. As the letter said on the 31st of October, we're starting to look like ghosts. So where were these ghosts located? They were located in the destroyed village of Douaumont, around the Ravin de la Couleuvre. This location was arguably more miserable than during their first tour in September. This was due to the hardships they faced in the reserve lines and front lines, whilst digging trenches under horrendous weather conditions. The regiment itself suffered also a high rate of attrition from trench foot, frostbite and illness. To contextualise that high rate of attrition, here are some of the figures. During the first tour, 126 men were evacuated because of illness. During their second tour, 698 men. Jules himself was also struggling. At the beginning of November, he was evacuated for trench foot, but after a couple of days' rest, he was back with his company, hoping for a way out. That way out would come hours after writing this letter. I'm taking advantage of a brief lull to write you a few words, for at every moment we are receiving heavy shells. We are covered in earth. So far, there's not been too much damage. Let's hope it lasts. After such a period, we can only hope to be relieved from here. Hours later, one of those shells got him. He was hit by a piece of shrapnel to the head and to the shoulder, but he finally got his wish of leaving Verdun, but this time via a stretcher. He would survive his wounds. With a broken shoulder and a head wound, he'd rejoin his regiment in early 1917. His war would end in Belgium on the 11th of November 1918, after 1,178 days. After the war, he went back to being a policeman. He packed up all of his belongings from the war into a box and put it in a drawer, waiting for it to be rediscovered. So why the interest in this soldier? Well, he's my great-grandfather.